I call the August 20th, 2019 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:45 p.m. The chair would entertain a motion for consideration of claims.
Your Honor, I move for consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $194,144.05. Elin credit card in the amount of $12,090.52. Payroll liabilities for 8/1/2019 in the amount of $226,861.98 for a total of $433,096.55.
I would second that motion.
Great. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the claims?
I dug, but I didn't find anything.
I didn't find anything either.
I noticed that part of the credit card claims, we had a lot of money going to Dallas Children's Advocacy, flights, looks like, that sort of thing. And as I understand it, there was a pretty big training over in Fort Worth, Texas, that we had a lot of officers go to. Always good to be able to get those trainings, and it's even better when it's paid for by a grant. So that was my understanding, is that was completely covered by a grant. Very helpful training about dealing with victims. So anyway.
Your Honor, I did have one question on this damage claim for Kierstead. I was just kind of curious what that was.
We were going to play the Jeopardy theme song while she was waiting.
Need to do that.
I know that excuse me, Your Honor. It was a claim that had to do with a garbage truck that hit the corner of her garage at her property. And so she filed a claim for reimbursement for the repairs on that.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have also one more thing I'd like to mention.
Sure.
Before you vote to approve. On page 7 of your claim approval list for Riverton Tire and Oil, it was brought to my attention by the Fleet Division Manager today. There was a charge for $1,401.80 on there, and that invoice was miscoded. It was coded to tools and supplies, and it should have gone to vehicle and equipment maintenance. So I've made the change within the system because we haven't paid that yet, but I did want to point that out to you also before you vote this evening.
Great. So something that anybody reading it, unless they really were looking closely, wouldn't even notice, but just want to make sure it's coded correctly so it comes out right in the budget, right?
Correct.
Great. All right, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion passes. Any other business?
I have none, Your Honor.
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay, we're adjourned at 6:48.
While you're doing it.
I now call the August 20th, 2019 regular session of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Borders lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Councilmember Rhoda?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, today we thank you for our many blessings and opportunities. We hope you can give us wisdom in making decisions and guide us in our efforts for the embetterment of Riverton today. Jesus Christ, we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Would the city clerk please conduct roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilman Tim Hancock.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilwoman Rebecca Schatze. Here. Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Corey Rhoda.
Here.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare a quorum present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilwoman Schatz and a second by Councilman Hancock. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Seeing none. We'll move on with the agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, August 6, 2019, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, August 6, 2019, executive session. Approval of the minutes, August 13, 2019, council work session. Approval of the minutes, August 20, 2019, finance committee meeting. Approval of the finance committee recommendations for August 20, 2019. And ordinance number 19-009 on second reading, and I'll read that by title only. Proposed ordinance number 19-009, an ordinance amending Title VI Animals to revise Chapter 6.08 Dogs and Cats, Article 2 Registration of Dogs, and to establish Section 6.08.010 definitions of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
I have one more, Your Honor, sorry.
All right.
And an open container permit application submitted by the Cedar Bar for the grand opening at 413 East Fremont Street on August 31st, 2019 from 12 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Thank you again. Are there any additional items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor.
Thank you.
The recommendation from the Finance Committee is for bills to be paid in the amount of $194,144.05. Elon credit card in the amount of $12,090.52. Payroll liabilities for August 1st, 2019 in the amount of $226,861.98 for a total of $433,096.55.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Schatze and a second by Councilwoman Borders. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion passes. Public hearing and consideration of firework permit application, Riverton High School. Would the city clerk give us her report, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Mayor and Council, before you tonight for your consideration is the annual fireworks permit application submitted by the Riverton High School Activities Director seeking approval to detonate a cannon at the Riverton High School home football games. The conditions of the permit application have been completed, the proper fee has been paid, the letter of recommendation from the fire chief has been received, and proper notice to the public has been advertised. Mr. Miller is also in attendance at tonight's public hearing as required by code. Based on the information provided through the application process, staff recommends approval of the fireworks permit application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Hancock and a second by Councilman Larson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state law, with other applicable laws, and I would ask that those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Do you want me to talk?
Sure. We love it when you talk. You're the only one here. We're lonely.
The one here, so I can talk about this, even though you proved it, right? So First off, Riverton High School and the community thanks you for the cannon, allowing us to fire it. Hopefully this year we'll have a lot more of it going off than last year. That's what our coaches have talked about. All our games start at 7 this year, so unlike when Star Valley comes in, we start at 6. All of them will start at 7, and we should be done by 10:30 every night. Well, every Friday night we have a home game. So again, the crowd loves it. The football players love it, so thank you for considering it and letting us do it. Doc Holloway will be doing it again, so he's really trained at it. Does a good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Questions?
I don't think so.
Go Big Red.
Yeah.
The chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Hancock and a second by Councilman Bailey. Any further discussion? This does fall underneath the fireworks ordinance, but it is just the cannon that we're going to shoot, and it will shoot when we score, correct? So we hope it goes off a whole lot,
That's what we're hoping for this year.
but we're hoping not to scare anybody with it, and we appreciate the opportunity to tell the public what we're doing. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing closed. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the firework permit application for the Riverton High School.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Rhoda and a second by Councilwoman Schatze. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of the Black Hills Energy easement on airport property. Community Development Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Black Hills Energy is planning an expansion of their infrastructure surrounding Riverton. They're planning a 6-inch main to run just past 8 Mile Road into town and connect at the west edge of Valley View Road. To do that, they need to run through obviously several private property pieces and then one corner of our airport property that actually crosses the highway about halfway down the run. And they need a 20-foot easement, or they're requesting a 20-foot easement on the property side of the highway right-of-way. So it's fairly straightforward. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Your Honor.
Let's approve that, and then we'll go to discussion. Thank you for the report. The chair would entertain a motion to approve Black Hills Wyoming Gas LLC easement.
Your Honor, I'd move that the city council authorize the mayor to sign the Black Hills Wyoming Gas LLC easement for gas lines and appurtenances, granting a 20-foot easement adjoining the south edge of the Highway 26 right-of-way line through parcel 9113131001700.
Thank you. We
It just was the longest recommendation I'd ever seen, and I just wanted to read it.
We shouldn't get lost from there, should we? We have a motion from Councilman Hancock and a second from Councilwoman Schatze. Further discussion. Now, Kyle.
Is that a loop now? Is that connecting to a current service? And is that a loop? Or what is their reasoning for connecting on that?
Your Honor.
Yes.
From what I understand, there is a much larger main at the connection point just past 8 Mile Road, and this is a looping their system so that if anyone has issues along that stretch, it actually runs north of the airport on a due east-west line, and if there's problems on that and they need to repair it, they can loop through this section and keep people in service.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, did I read that that's a 6-inch line?
Correct.
And it's good that you pointed that out. It makes better sense to me. I was thinking that was going the other direction, out of town instead of into town. So that is coming from their gas substation outside of Riverton, right?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. That easement that goes under the highway is going to be just north of the last intersection going into our subdivision up on the hill.
Sunburst?
What's that?
Sunburst?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sunburst Estates, and it will end at the backside of Sunburst Estates and cross the highway right there to which would be the south side of the highway, I suppose you'd want to. It's bending there, west at that location and traveling on out past 8 Mile. It's nice to have that in, and that should help with development in that section. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. The local preference purchase discussion. Tony, would you give us your report, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. At a previous council meeting, we had made modifications to our purchasing policy. At the time, a conversation arose about the development of a local purchasing preference and whether or not we can do that, similar to the state preference, which is 5%. So we did look into it, and we did get some resolution that says that, yes, you can. Court cases that are provided to you within the memo do actually illustrate that we are allowed to do that. However, we do have to set up a policy that says this is what it is. It cannot be arbitrary. We have to set the parameters by which an organization would qualify for that. Usually that's a logistical consideration of where they're located within a certain area, whether it be within the city, whether it be within the county. And then how much that preference would be. I could not find anything that denoted a restriction on the preference, however, allowing that number to get too terribly high or allowing it to compound with the state preference is not advisable. So if council wishes to direct staff to develop a full local preference policy, we can do that in relatively short order because we can get it from other places. We would need to know what that amount would be and what the geographical boundaries of that preference would be applied to. Everything else we could generally work with. We could bring you forward some for discussion, and most of the language is relatively standard to our understanding. Another part of that conversation that I wanted to point out is whether the level at which we actually seek quotes on different items. Per our purchasing policy, we are required to seek quotes anything over $3,000, and that is what we have been doing. However, as of recently, we've been taking greater steps to do that when at lower levels. Not by requirement, just trying to be diligent with our money. And we have had some success in doing that. So when we have different items that come up that are not quite $3,000, but they're getting up there a little bit, $1,000 or $2,000, and we go looking for those. That's just good spending. But however, if council at the time we had the original conversation, we were mixing the conversation on local preference a little bit with the conversation on purchasing level, and they're separate. So if council would like to have a local purchasing preference, that we do. Our current policy does say, when at all possible, we look around locally. That's written within our policy. So with that, I think that's a very quick version of the memo, but I would be happy to take any direction or answer any questions for council. If you would like to have any of those developed, please let us know what the parameters are. Thank you.
Mike?
Your Honor, I guess I think this is a really good idea. I think it's a good idea fiscally for the city of Riverton to shop around and try to get the best pricing that they can on items. And I think it's also vitally important for our local economy, which is where we get our taxes from, that the city of Riverton try to buy locally when it's possible. And so I think it would be a good idea if we create a policy that, again, if the 5% is probably a good number, and I think it should include probably businesses within Fremont County, because I think if we restrict it just to Riverton, that's a little bit restrictive. And that gives the city plenty of people to price things from, and the ability for Fremont County businesses to have a little advantage over the bigger out of county for sure, definitely out of state companies that sometimes compete for the local business.
Any other discussion? Interesting enough, I was in the county commissioner's office for their meetings today, and they had this exact conversation came up, and they approved a 10% preference for local businesses, and what they considered local businesses for the county was the entire state of Wyoming. So I think it's something that everybody's thinking about. I don't know that there's exactly right in what they've done, but I would encourage us to formulate that and move it forward. And I think Mike's suggestion is really good, to have it cover all of Fremont County. And so that would be my preference too, to have that go forward. And I think I could get you those minutes from the, Kyle, you weren't there yet, were you? This is a discussion from Commissioner Jones, was the one that moved those motions forward and those percentages. So we might want to check that and see that we stay with that or close to that. Or 5% is more typical. I've never heard of a 10%, but that's what they did this morning.
Yes, Your Honor. The typical numbers that I'd found when I looked around was either 3 or 5%. So.
Any other discussion? So are you clear? You're clear as mud on that, where you're going?
It might be easier to do a motion directing the percentage and the geography of Fremont County.
Your Honor, I would move that the city move forward with creating a draft preference statement that would include businesses within Fremont County and a 5% preference.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilman Bailey and a second from Councilwoman Schatze. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We're now down to reports and comments, unless staff has anything to add.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Another thing that's come to my attention is on the, here a while back, we had talked about the storage containers in residential areas. And I guess there's been some change of, or I guess the issue's been brought up that schools are within residential areas, and they use the storage containers on a pretty regular basis. And so I think it would be a good idea, and I would move that we relook at the storage container ordinance that we passed previously and possibly change that to, cover setbacks, maybe include prohibited items that we don't want stored in storage containers, and maybe relook at that ordinance and give some flexibility so that we don't have to rezone every school in town and that kind of stuff.
I second that.
Do we need okay. So we have a motion from Councilman Bailey on storage containers, and a second by Councilwoman Schatze. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes,
may I see clarity?
sure.
If we're going to bring a new policy, You wanted, the things I have written are setback and materials, is that correct?
Flammable material stored inside. Is that
Okay.
correct? Not putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the issues that we sort of had discussed previously, so.
Does anyone else?
And, possible ventilation so that if it's an airtight container, somebody's stuck in there, they can at least breathe.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is that clear enough, good enough clarification?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I was wondering, are we speaking solely of school district property which is located in residential area? Or are we talking about residential area and the availability of using storage sheds in residential areas?
We're talking about storage units in residential areas. We're not wanting to create another zoning classification.
The reason I'm asking is there's several residential areas where currently they are permitted on a temporary basis. And there's one on Spruce that's been there since February. And my watch says it's August. And as far as I can see, there's been no activity, none, zero. It's just a storage area in a driveway. So, being a property owner in that area, I object to that. It's just doesn't fit the common ordinary description of what you have in a neighborhood. That's not a school area either. That's just a road, a street.
Is that all you have, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
I think you asked for setbacks, correct? In that, so we'll have to take a look at how that ordinance comes forward from Eric's office and see what those setbacks are. So I think those setbacks ought to be sufficient to get that out of the driveways.
Your Honor, yeah, we've got some verbiage that was up, I believe, on reading 2, so yeah, it should be fairly easy to put together.
Okay. And to Kyle's question, we did have a condition there that you could have a storage unit conditionally for 6 months?
Correct, 180 days.
Application.
Yes.
From the city, so we may want to look at that and see if that needs to be visited again and extend that or pull that application.
I'll definitely look into it tomorrow, sir.
Kyle, do you have an address?
Yeah, it's,
We have the
say it's 418 Spruce,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
west.
Any other items?
And then I had one other item that we had discussed in the past somewhat about the changing, and I guess can't remember how we stated it, but basically creating an area of town that was less dense in population and sort of like down on River Drive below the golf course where we don't have curb and gutter and it's maybe not appropriate. And so again, I would like to see us, see staff review that standard and look at what our possibilities are to create a street cross-section that's available for those less dense, less occupied
Country living.
or country living type areas for development that maybe wouldn't need the full
Well,
curb, gutter, sidewalk, et cetera, et cetera.
There are hard surface roads that allow access to and from property,
Right.
but obviously we don't have a 6-foot sidewalk on both sides accompanied by a gutter going to nowhere
Right.
in a country that doesn't need it or want it.
Right.
Is that possible?
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
I'm
that's
asking.
our direction. We need a motion. Councilman Bailey has the motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilman Bailey and a second from Councilwoman Borders. All in favor, say aye.
Your Honor.
Aye.
Excuse me. We have discussion.
So we'd be talking about places like down on Riverview, and we've got some sections that we're wanting to be able to work out. Isn't that right, Eric? We have a couple of different areas where we're trying to actually get them to be annexed into the city, and this could help with that process, couldn't it?
Your Honor,
Yes.
very much potentially, yeah.
Okay.
This came up with the Foster rezoning, but for clarification, my father-in-law lives in a really nice subdivision that does not have anything but an asphalt approach to homes, and then it does have a setback of sidewalk 8 or so feet off of that, and no curb and gutter. The real advantage to that, Kyle Leto pointed out to us, when we collect stormwater, we're responsible for it. So we have to take it someplace whenever we curb and gutter. So he counseled the Shoshone Town Council to be really careful with that. And what this allows that to do is, just like on River Lane, that hard surface allows, it's not a big, fast, heavy road, so people can walk on that surface and feel safe. But the water runs off into those borrow ditches and doesn't go anywhere. If you have a big flood, if you have a big rain, it lays in those until it saturates away or evaporates. So that's just the idea, and Eric's got some ideas to add to that. And is that enough clarification that we can move forward?
I believe so, you said.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We're now to roundtable reports. Corey, are you ready?
I can be.
Thank you.
So I don't have a whole bunch to report on. I've been out of town for the past week or so. I was able to be at the rendezvous games. I'll let Rebecca talk about that, but it was a great turnout, tons of people, good time. I did want to mention the kick and trash that I've been doing on Sundays. We're going to start doing at Thursdays at 4 o'clock. I'll have some more posted up here tomorrow where we're going to go, but we're going to try to move that to Thursday in hopes of getting a couple more people out. At that time, I think that is all that I have right now, Mayor.
Do you have a time that you want to go out?
It'll be at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. You probably said that, I just missed it. So Thursday at 4 o'clock, and you'll post that on Facebook or the city site?
Yes, sir. It'll be on Facebook. Yes, sir.
And are we still going to do Wednesdays? So we're going to get both days.
Mm-hmm.
Super. And that is a really great activity. I've gone a number of times. I'm not the greatest attender.
You are. You're great.
It's a lot of fun, and you really feel good when you get done and realize that you've helped the community. So I would encourage anybody out there to either come on Wednesday or Thursday. Check Facebook and the city site for locations. Anything else?
I think that's all right now. Thank you.
Thanks. Kyle?
Just one thing. There's going to be a community meeting on proposed, and I don't know what to describe the project that Mayor Wartness is looking at, but
Water feature?
Water feature, that's, anyway, it'll be here, and I recommend that the citizens of Riverton respond and show their support, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you.
When is that, Kyle?
I think it's at 7 o'clock
It's this Thursday.
this Thursday.
I know, I just am making sure that people know.
Thursday at 7? Now, I met with Mayor Wartness last night, and there's, that's and I appreciate his zeal for that, and that's a project that was started a number of years ago, and what that would entail, they'll explain on Thursday night. And so those people that would be interested in seeing a waterfall, kind of a large mound of dirt at the end of Main Street, could come down and either fall in love with that or whichever they choose to do. It is being held here in City Hall, and it's a private idea, not supported by our Parks Committee or anybody else. It's just one that's an older idea that's been brought back up. So that will be tomorrow night, correct?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Excuse me, I'm just missing the day, so it'll be on Thursday at 7.
One more day after tomorrow.
One more day.
Yeah.
And it will be in these chambers, I believe, correct, guys?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the mayor, in all honesty, I just wanted a fair hearing. You know, some people think it's a great idea since flapjacks, and other people feel a different way. And I just feel that those gentlemen, with that vision several years ago, deserve a public hearing on it, and then so be it.
And that's the way it should be. So that meeting is available, there's been some confusion as to who's the sponsoring agency on that, and it is not the city. So I just wanted
Your
to.
Honor, I was going to mention that too with the Community Engagement Committee, or formerly known as the Parks Committee. It's been brought to us a few times, but every time that's been brought to us, there's not much interest in that committee either. So it's not coming from that committee. I want to make that clear as well.
Okay.
It's a different group doing it. So, but again, if anybody wants to put down their feet and do work, I support that 100%. But it's not being backed by that committee.
Your turn.
Oh, great. Thanks. I've been drowning in the rendezvous games, so I don't really have much else to talk about other than that, which it was a great time. I want to say thanks to Corey Rhoda for the opening ceremonies. The fireworks were amazing. It was like the perfect get everything going. If you were there, and it was, gosh, maybe like a minute long, the fireworks display, but it was like everything I could imagine and more. It was really cool. And then the sparklers, everybody running through those, it was just a sight to be seen. And the pictures, if you looked at the pictures or if you were there in the background and the sunset, oh my goodness, it was amazing. And then the fire and people there that night, everybody was so excited. We had all but one team show up that night. Well, two teams, sorry, but they let me know they couldn't make it. And the next morning, things kicked off. And I feel like you guys should talk about it, Mayor and Carla, because you guys were there participating. I can only say what I saw, and behind the scenes, you don't really see what everybody else sees, because I'm sitting there like, oh, this wasn't right, and this wasn't right, but I'm sure you guys saw something completely different, but it was great, and there was one team it was only one person on that team that wanted to do it, and she convinced the rest of her crowd to do it, and she told me that the day before they were saying, what are you getting us into? We don't want to do this, but we're going to do it because you always support us in our things. And she said after the very first event, they said, okay, here's what we're going to do this winter. Here's what we're going to do differently. And they've already got a team going. They're scouting for their new players. And they're going to start preparing more. And I mean, it was a great time to be had by y'all. And I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for coming out and putting on a good party for us in the park that evening. The music was great. People were playing 9 Square by the United Methodist Church. They brought that over, and saw some people playing cornhole, and got the barbecuers and the food vendors and dogs and everybody. I mean, it was just the way a city park should look. It was just a great time. But I just want to say thank you to the community. Thanks to the 14 different businesses and individuals who supported a team and got people out there. It was a great coming together. We had one team who had to back out, but they said, we'll sponsor it. And we had 4 strangers come together to be on a team. It was neat. So I just want to say thanks for that.
Rebecca, how many teams did we have?
14.
And can you give us, I put you on the spot, do you remember the sponsoring agencies that helped us with that?
Yep, I have them right here, actually. Just give me a second. I can start reciting them, but then I'm sure I'd probably get it wrong. So give me 1 second. I have them all on my phone. We have the Home Source Realty, Central Bank and Trust, the Cherry Bombs Roller Derby Team, Rocky Mountain Logistics, who was our winner, United Methodist Church, Teton Athletic Club had 3 different teams, the Mayor Rich Guard and the city staff, Prime Variable Athletics, Taco John's, the Riverton Medical District, Cedar Bar, and the Boot Bar.
Fabulous. How many did we have at the Winter Games?
15, so one more. But it was tough getting teams together for the summer, just because everybody's so busy. I could even say I was busy, and trying to get this put together and juggling everything else, but I think it was still great.
It was good. Appreciate your help there. Mike?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, I had the pleasure of attending the Force Committee meeting, and again, the different Force projects are going really well this summer, and they've got, most of those are sort of coming to a close. They're doing College View, they're working on Village Drive, East Bell is getting done. They ended up pretty much redoing that entire street. There were some options there. They ended up rotomilling the whole street out and putting it in brand new as opposed to, patching and all that. They got to a point where that was going to be cheaper than doing all the patching, so East Bell should look great. Again, we're going to have some money left over in the budget, and so they're looking at the projects that could be still done this year. If not, we'll have some money to get started for the projects next year, and they are just in the beginning of the sort of analysis of the different projects coming forward, and they'll sort of prioritize them and then get some engineers' estimates to figure out what they want to work on next year. They do a really good job of getting those projects ready through the winter so that we can bid them early. And we've found that we're saving a lot of money on those projects by getting them out early when the contractors are still hungry and lean and mean, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. So I think the Force Committee is just doing a great job in, prioritizing those projects. And I encourage the public, if they see a place that needs work, to make sure they bring that to the attention of the committee so that it can get put on the priority list, and we'll try to get those projects, grouped together and done and keep improving Riverton. And so they've done a great job with that. I also attended the airport board meeting, and again, the airport's cranking along just fine. The boardings are staying pretty level, so we're cranking along at a decent level there. The new carrier, SkyWest, will take over January 11th, 12th. So last day for Denver Air Connections will be the 11th, and SkyWest will take over the 12th. And there's going to be some changes up at the airport because that will be now a 50-seat jet that comes in. And so we have to change the size of the secure area so that it could hold 50 passengers, worst case scenario, best case scenario, I guess. And so that, that's in the process. And again, you guys approved the lease for the airport cafe, so that is in the works of getting that going. And so there's some great things going on up at the airport. And I'm excited to see SkyWest, get in here and show us some new stuff. And I'm really, and I talked to Kyle and some of the people, and I think somehow we need to make sure we express our appreciation to Denver Air Connections. I think, they've pulled us through a really tough time and done an exceptional job doing it. And so, nothing but wish them the best in the future. And I hope we can come up with maybe a way to celebrate the changing of the guard at the airport and, celebrate the success we've had so far improving that. And I didn't have the pleasure of attending the Rendezvous games, but I had some employees there, so I was stuck working. Don't feel sorry for them.
No, but Your Honor, Bailey's gave a lot of donations to the event, and we gave those out. I mean, I don't know who didn't receive some from Bailey's because we did drawings throughout the day. You didn't? Well, you're not lucky enough, Mayor. But everybody was so excited.
I mean, I had nothing but great compliments. People, great turnout. Lots of people really enjoyed it, other than you broke one of my employees that was participating. Had to be hauled off.
Medical district?
Yeah,
Or?
no, Methodist Church, I think she was working. So she's been out this week. So thanks for that.
No. I was thinking of doing warm-up exercises.
There you go. We're gonna have to get a wellness plan going. So I thought it was great, and I think it's awesome, like you said, the kind of stuff that we want to see going on in the park and around Riverton, and positive experiences and great events for people to participate in, and so I think it was fabulous. I did get a comment from a citizen, and I think he's in the city. He lives out on Rain Tree, and I know that's something that, again, it sort of ties into this street issue that we're talking about. He was complaining about the dust because, and the city I know has worked out there and put some rotomill on their road and that kind of stuff. But again, that's one of those roads I think that would be a perfect candidate for this, rural standard that we're talking about, and we could possibly get some of that road in better shape and even possibly get some of those people to annex in if the cost of getting into the city was more reasonable. And so I think that's one way the city could improve our finances, by getting more houses included in the rolls and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll talk more to Kyle about the gentleman's issues, and but I think this will be a positive move forward for us, hopefully. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim?
We had a Solutions Committee meeting on Thursday of last week. Well attended, I guess, relatively. Talked a little bit about just, where we're going to be going next. We did have a couple of, well, I guess just one member that left, just due to other personal obligations, will no longer be attending the Solutions Committee meetings, but still wanted to be involved. Talked a little bit about, and we also had a separate meeting, just a group that we've had meet once now, discussing the possibility of a residential treatment facility in Riverton. We met just the day before the Solutions Committee, came up with some ideas. Of course, the biggest thing that's difficult with that is funding. I mean, the initial funding, ongoing funding, all of it, but hopefully can see our way to solving that issue. But did have a very well-attended meeting on that Wednesday before. Discussed that a little bit at the Solutions Committee meeting. One of the things we've been discussing with Solutions is just getting information out there to people in terms of what Solutions is doing, just the discussing a little bit more, and I think we discussed this with the goal setting, is just really making sure that we're transparent and that we're communicating well with our citizens so that they know what's going on and they know kind of the direction we're hoping to take things. So anyway, that's basically it for the Solutions Committee meeting, and looking forward to some further discussions on that idea, and I hope can bear fruit sooner rather than later. Next month is actually Recovery Month. September is SAMHSA, which is an acronym that I cannot tell you what it stands for right now, but it has to do with mental health and substance abuse. They have every September is Recovery Month, which just basically is meant to be talking about and celebrating recovery when folks have been dealing with substance abuse. And so that's something coming up, and hopefully we can get some more excitement about that. I do know that one of the things we did discuss during the meetings, both meetings, was actually, and it's my understanding, the governor is going to be signing a proclamation regarding Recovery Month. So anyway, that's all for Solutions and for me.
Thank you. Carla?
All I really have, well, first of all, we have to talk about the Rendezvous games. They were amazing, amazing. It's so neat to see all the people come out and kind of hang out together and have fun, and it was just a lot of fun. It was really neat to watch the tug of war. That was a lot of fun. The different obstacle course that they had set up, it was just great. So I hope we get 20 teams next time.
Everybody was really impressed with the city's strength in that tug of war. They couldn't believe it. They thought you guys weren't going to do well. And then everybody was like, oh my gosh, they came out of nowhere. It was really funny.
Yeah. It was cool. I guess the only other thing I really want to talk about is the food hub. Mike alluded to the lease being signed for the airport cafe. The food hub's really excited to get in there. If there's any entrepreneur cooks, or if you want to, bottle up something and sell it, they're going to have a space there for people to use. So it's really exciting stuff. They're going to also, provide an option for people getting off the planes or boarding the planes on, breakfast or lunch or something like that. So it's exciting, and it's finally coming to fruition. So they're really excited about that. I think that's about all I had. I do have a question for Eric on Sutherland's. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, Your Honor. I won't perpetuate any rumors with a joke. Sutherland's has purchased a lot. They are in the process of a demolition permit. They have started construction. It was awarded to a local contractor, Garth Yates Construction. They will be submitting plans for their remodel shortly. They're still in the design phase. And yes, they are working towards completion, hopefully in late fall of 2019. And if I may expound, Murdoch's has purchased the old Safeway building. The sale is finalized. They are also in the design phase of their project. And we met with their engineering and architectural team last week on Tuesday. They were in town to take a look at the building. So they are beginning their preliminary engineering and architectural phase, and we should see plans submitted probably in late fall, with construction happening in early spring of 2020.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've just had some citizens ask me, so I want to get some clarification on that. Thank you.
I'll leave that alone. Tony, your report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll be brief. We were contacted with regards to McDonald's that does periodic, brings coffee to businesses and meets with them. I think we've seen those coming. Those have been around the community and they want to come to City Hall. We're looking at doing that on the 30th. It's kind of a meet and greet, get to know people. It's a nice outreach, and they reached out to us. So right now we're looking at the 30th for that. I'll send out an email, both to city staff and to council at that time. Does the date I'm told to expect with one last, let's check. So, but since we probably aren't going to be seeing each other before then, I thought it might be good to tell you now. RECDA is on the 20th at the Sundowner at 7 a.m. And the WAM region meeting is going to be September 5th. It's going to be held at the Hogadon ski area. I hear skiing is going to be terrible at the time. So we'll be talking about CBD oil, which with the recent legislative session became legal. And we've already been asking a number of questions about that internally. Kristen's done some good research based on some questions that we had received. That is something that is legal within our community and is being sold. So that's going to be one of those new items that comes up that's going to be talked about. We will also go over legislative items. We're starting to get those emails coming through on a regular basis. Oh, hey, this is coming up, and okay, this is coming up, and so we're going to be working on that. I was able to meet today with kind of an informal group that's looking at community marketing. That's something that we talked about as part of the goals. At this point, it's a fledgling little group, but a lot of good people in it that have a lot of good ideas that don't cost $100,000 or something like that to implement. These are things that, one, there may be funding for already, and a lot of it has to do with looking at what other communities are doing right and using it, and why not. We even talked about integrating different calendars and what we could do to make those work together. So yeah, your chamber could have their calendar, or County 10 or what have you, and we could share information easier. it becomes a lot easier to do that. And so we liked that. Those conversations are coming up, and we're finding some neat ideas with that small group. If we get into a larger marketing effort, obviously something else gets formalized and our efforts get a little more formal. But right now, I think we're going to be able to bring forward some smaller items that might really yield some good things for things like rendezvous days and the balloon rally and scheduling and advertising going on. So I'm looking forward to bringing that forward in the near future. We did receive an email from the farmers market representatives, and we get those periodically, actually, and I hadn't really shared anything. We wanted to make sure that, we got a little bit of a track record, but we had received a lot of really good praise from them for their relocation. We had a couple little things that at the very beginning of the year that, hey, can we move this or can we do this? Staff, especially our public works staff, was very responsive to that. And ever since then, it has just been really good, and that has grown and grown. And so we received some feedback from those that are putting it on, and they were very complimentary of staff, and they are really happy to be down there. So we haven't seen any real problems of note, and we're happy to have them down there. It's a good use. So we were happy to have that. And the only thing I wanted to make sure that council understood is with regard to the cross sections that we're talking about with the rural cross sections. That is, the development of those is not going to be terribly quick. We don't want to stall it out at all, but that's going to involve our planning department, our public works department, Brendan, a lot of people in the room. We want to give you something good to look at on the onset. So I just wanted to make sure no one expected it first meeting in September. We're, September 2020. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll look forward to moving that forward. I just wanted to give a realistic timeline for you. Your Honor, that I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your report. I got a really long list, but I want to move my list around a little bit because the rendezvous games were exceptional. And I would like to start by thanking Carla and her husband and their nephew for showing up and helping so enthusiastically. Also, Chief Murphy and Sergeant Comers and Cindy was there, and with them we had sufficient folks to play. And just so we don't get lost in the weeds, we did win the relay. We got 10 whole points for winning the relay. And so that was our highlight of the night or the day. And what is impressive about that is we had 3 council members there all day long. And Carla came back and served some barbecue up, and Chief came back and served barbecue up, and they were there till 8 o'clock. I was chopping weeds across the street at 8, and we were still having fun. So the event went almost seamless, and I'd like to commend the police department. We had one small incident that they just took care of without anybody even noticing. So all you guys that organized that, I would like to tell you thanks. Appreciated that. I do have a few sore spots still, but they're getting better. And so I think everybody, the art was gorgeous. You can look on Facebook and see the art that was put on the sidewalks. And Kyle was there all day long, way before us. Him and Tony showed up and put the barriers up, and city staff was exceptional. So the rendezvous games are really helping, and I see a lot of people talking to me about them. And I just don't, one of the things that Chief and I talked about was volunteerism. We need more volunteers, and we need more people to take up the reins and help Rebecca and others with those things. And I see that the numbers are falling off on kicking trash. And what we really need is to reinstate in Riverton the pride of ownership. That's what Riverton is. We own Riverton, and we, the citizens, need to take good care of it. And the park is a good place to start, and lots of the other places, the hard work that's being done. So the Rendezvous games were impressively fun, and I enjoyed those, and I appreciate the efforts that were put in on that. I also went to a meeting that was quite enlightening out at Fort Washakie. Chief Murphy was there. Tony went with me. Captain was there also, and we had one other officer. Who was that other officer? I should know. Christofferson. Thank you. I was scratching for his, and that's a conference put on by the governor for missing and murdered and indigenous women, and that was a room of probably 40, and that was an interesting hour and a half. I've been to the hospital meetings this last week, and those are interesting. Riverton Medical District is working hard for the city of Riverton. Tony and I also, on the 15th, went down to a BLM, it's called an ESI meeting, and the BLM put it on, and it was asking for input from communities about the Athon project. And you know, when you get into those meetings, they passed out a spreadsheet, and it was 4 pages long and had a list of acronyms, about 20 different acronyms that you had to catch up with what committee was what and where. And so we were at a disadvantage until after lunch, and then we started holding our own. And so I hope that project moves forward, and we need to support that in any way we can. We tried to put Thermopolis and Hot Springs County to ease with the fact that we weren't trying to pollute anything and that we were trying to work for the betterment of the state of Wyoming. Seeing that, who's got the bet? Am I close to anybody wants to share their take? I can cut this short. I can make it go really long. Kyle was with me today with the county commissioners. He showed up late. He goes under that acronym that my father used to tell me the only way to make a long meeting short was to show up late.
It's the best presentation I've ever given.
But he did a really good job when he got there, and the FAST committee showed up, and I don't know, I feel like Councilman Bailey, we are so fortunate to have Misty White and Kyle and Kevin and Lee and all the people that sit there, Ernie, for year after year, that has been able to hold an airport in Riverton. And so I just can't say enough. Mick and everybody that sits on that committee needs to be commended. And along with that, the city of Lander needs to be thanked every time you come across them, and so do the county commissioners, because there's a lot of pushback out there to not help fund the airport. And lots of times people say to me, well, I don't even use the airport. But that's not the point. If we're going to be an economic growing community, we have to have an airport. We just have to. That's one of the musts. A hospital is one of the musts. We have to have a college. We have all those things, and so we have the potential and the population, and I'm just really thrilled that SkyWest is going to come in. I think the rates are going to drop substantially, close to in half, and if we'll use it, that's the real secret to all of these things, is our usership as a community. If we use it, it will benefit us. So I have a few other things, but I'm hoping to get a cut on the take. So with that said, the county commissioners meeting was excellent. We need to work with the commissioners and see if we can find some common ground. And so with that said, we have no executive, correct?
No, Your Honor.
Did I miss anything, Tony, that we've been pounding out? I got a longer list here, but I think I can let it slide. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the regular council meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilwoman Borders. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We stand adjourned at 8:03. Thank you.